What up, naughty steppers? It's Connor Whitmore here again with another review for you on the Nawtystep channel, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the new compilation from Odio Records, issue 2, the Remixes. Odio are back with their fourth compilation of 2018. The first since the issue 2 originals were released in August, once again bringing together a wealth of various dubstep producers, from the better known such as Jarvis, Pane Mua and Guillotine, to the lesser known like Scarbelly and Killrina, and seemingly everything in between. Putting Odio out there as a label really pushing the envelope in terms of musical diversity and flavour within the bass scene. Providing a brilliant platform for smaller artists to show what they're made of in the process, something they've been renowned for ever since their inception at the start of this year. And upon this release I realised it had been quite a while since I had reviewed something from them in full. And considering how much I appreciate what they're doing, not only for producers but for bass music generally, this compilation was the perfect opportunity to get back on the Odio hype train. Now, the thing that I've lauded the three previous compilations for most has been the sheer level of variety from beginning to end, which I touched on earlier. And this latest collection of tracks doesn't disappoint on that front, supplying a myriad of different ways to appreciate bass music yet again. From the thumping RIDDIM of Sora, to the glitchy stop-start approach of Pane Mua, the ELECTRO delivery of Spitfire, there's a fair amount on display here. You also have the remixes from Basic and Triple, both of which take the listener's attention this way and that in completely different ways. The former more in your face, dubstep full to the brim with breaks and effects, really good dynamic between everything going on. And the latter a little less out there, but still with lots to give on a sonic level. I particularly love those skittish, jumpy touches in the second drop. The remix from Guillotine, although not up there with my favourite stuff of his from this year, is another unique track within the context of this compilation. Following a pulsating introduction with this collection's most engulfing sounds, pretty mind-melting at times hearing these sounds all together. Must say I really enjoy the jagged start to the second drop too. Overall it's a grungier avenue for Guillotine to go down, but it's welcomed. The appeal of the Scarbelly track is its neat and contained nature. It doesn't evolve that much, but again it's unique within the issue 2 remixes. And the Redux remix also ticks the box on that front. Those meaty, contorted dubstep sounds are so distinctively his now. Interesting thing for me with this remix was that he almost honed in on those sounds so much that his overall aesthetic comes across as more withdrawn. Knowing that his tracks this year up until now have been pretty wild and bombastic, and this one seems almost as if his style has gone into hibernation. Doing the opposite to Basic in that his style is fully unleashed here, whereas before it was much more contained in his Sardonic Sub EP. Regardless, as I said, each one strengthens this understanding of variety and diversity that runs through these remixes. Something I potentially feel most in the compilation's culmination in Bizo's remix of Sora and Misfit Massacres track, Give It Up. Bizo, I'm not quite sure. Someone I hadn't heard of much before, but who really delivers on this cut in conjoining so many different musical influences. Starting in a dreamy, ethereal, synthwave kind of way, before the track opens up with some big dubstep, and I mean big dubstep. I'd also say it sets a really nice scene in its midsection, and there are some lovely wavy developments in both drops. Pretty emphatic stuff, very powerful sound, got a nice bounce to it, just a really nice way to finish up, in my opinion. Also, some similarities with Redux's usual, more extravagant approach that I mentioned earlier. Maybe we'll see these two collaborating at some point. In saying all of this, however, there is also an extent to which there is a sameness that pervades the compilation on an energy level where it hasn't done previously. Several tunes here seeming more intent on the impact with which they're delivered, as opposed to any established ideas per se. Misfit Massacres remix, for example, hits hard and has an alluring feel to it in several parts, but the focal point, the dubstep, doesn't sell itself quite as well. A spacious, reverby vibe to it that I'm not sure feels quite as refined as the rest of the track. There are some sweet developments in the second drop, vocal sample included, but overall I wouldn't say the heaviest stuff here is quite coherent enough to move me. Moreover, in Zetta's VIP of his track Embers with wave mode, there's such a big emphasis on one aspect of it that it seems to drown out most of the remaining parts. This swampy, marshy feel to the dubstep, filthy and scratchy, and in all honesty a bit too contorted at points. Generally I like the transitioning in this remix and the way it swaggers along, but more spice could have been had in the heaviest parts for sure. We also have the So's remix, which interested me stylistically initially because of the semi-deathstep approach with all that staggered synth placement, but again I wouldn't say that it offers too much. Similarly to others, it picks up in the second drop, but even then it drags more than it surprises. And I'd say this general feel of energy over sounds and ideas stops it from being quite as inviting as previous audio compilations. Issue 1, for example, feels much more like a story to me than a selection of tracks, which is quite something considering its 18 or so different producers. And maybe it's just that that one was exceptional and really raised the bar from the off, but this one doesn't quite have that same gleam. Likely because there are fewer tracks here, less scope for telling a story, less room for peaks and troughs. But the remixes that stick out here stylistically, from Spitfire, Redax, Pane Mua, Sora, could have been spaced out more to help with that. Bezo, of course, being the exception with his track coming at the end as previously mentioned. I think that was the best track for this compilation to end with. A few other little moments I'd like to touch on here before drawing this review to a close with some ending thoughts. Spoken of the basic remix already, but I really think we get all sides of him in this remix, and that really is great to hear. Spitfire's ideas are fantastic, and I really think he brings a whole other level of appreciation to audio with his electro synths and structures. But I feel his percussion could do with a little bit more refining at points to make his unique ideas pop even more and add another dimension to them entirely. The Pane Mua remix is the best kind of weird for outright dubstep music, and he's shown once again how good an understanding he has for both time and space with his tunes. The intro and build in the Redax track, stunning musicality, those vintage Redax growls, the vocal sample, top notch. The overall punch and thwack of the Sora remix, while still sounding so clear, progresses well until the end and is generally just a really well-rounded remix. And finally, the epic cinematic appeal to the Scarbelly remix at points, the string-led intro and midsection, creating a nice contrast from the more contained stuff that surrounds it. All in all though, I find this to be another impactful contribution to the world of underground dubstep music from the Audio Collective. It may not possess the level of variety and feeling of journey as past compilations of theirs, but I think that's more reflective of how much of a surprise those first few were. At the start of the year, hearing issue 1 was a complete breath of fresh air, and now that's not so much the case, but that's because we're getting used to it. Fundamentally, the issue 2 remixes continue in the same vein because there is variety aplenty, just not to the same ridiculous standard that they set in the first place. Either way though, this compilation is still much better than the majority in that respect. Its slight lacking is still much better than most other dubstep compilations. And if you find yourself sitting there thinking, is he talking about the big ones? Then yes, I am talking about the big ones. With so many different producers, it may seem like variety is easy to come by with all these different styles and approaches to making bass music. But so many artists like to follow trends and stick with what's hot, and I honestly can't say there's been any evidence of that with this label so far. Not only do they have that variation on point, but they're also giving that exposure to those smaller, lesser known producers who are putting in that amazing work and deserve that attention. The issue 2 remixes may not be as enthralling comparatively, but it's another reminder of their strengths as a label, and I think that's what matters most. And so that is that for another review on the Nawtystep channel, this time of the new compilation from Odio Records, issue 2 remixes. Thank you very much, and as always, for tuning in. Be sure to leave a comment with your thoughts on the issue 2 remixes. What did you guys make of it? Do you have a favourite track from the 12? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hitting the notification bell along the way. For some other dubstep reviews on the channel, check out the link next to my head somewhere. Don't forget to like and follow Nawtystep across social media if you haven't already, all of which is linked in the description box down below. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know guys, so be sure as always to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace out.